Those were the questions. So, speaking about your unique task in the world, we are not referring to the profession you might pursue, but rather your contributions to humanity. And the word humanity seems a little bit an exaggeration. How can one individual person help the whole world? A world that has so many enormous problems and conflicts. Of course, first and foremost, it's about people close to you. But your thoughts, the thoughts you think, are not bound to location, and you exert a certain influence, and you always do so because you are a magnet, and your thoughts may go very far away. So, what is your task? First of all, you have to deal with those people who surround you. People you work with, family, neighbors, your friends, and maybe also people who don't like you very much. Every action evokes a consequence, and no doubt there have been countless of actions in your past life that have not led to consequences in that former life. And those consequences manifest now in this life. They manifest as the circumstances in which you live and the actions that people perform towards you. One of the paramitas, the exalted virtues of Buddhism, is Shila, harmony in word and act. The disharmonies in life you will have to harmonize. And this harmony arises from the feeling of separateness, the idea that you are separate from others. And as a result, selfishness arises. Selfishness is going against the laws of nature. So it is selfishness that causes disharmony. And it is unselfishness, cooperating with nature, which turns disharmony into harmony. And harmony is not stagnation, as if nothing changes anymore. No, we are referring to dynamic harmony, in which everyone contributes according to his dharma for the benefit of the whole. If you, in a past life, have laid the causes for disharmony, you are also the one who can turn disharmony into harmony. You are unique. Your contribution is therefore unique. No one can do it for you. And it means that you have to accept any discomforts you may have in life, perhaps the fact that you are not always treated well. You have to accept it as a consequence of what you have done and try to learn from it and establish causes that will lead to harmony in future. But setting right what has gone wrong is only one aspect of your unique task. Without any doubt, there will have been things in the past that you didn't finish. Perhaps you did not begin a study of Theosophy until later in life, and you can continue that study now. That is your task. And furthermore, in the previous lives you were developing a number of skills and abilities. You were working on understanding yourself. You were engaged in your growth process, unpacking all kinds of abilities. Are you done with that? Is it finished? Of course not. You are only done with it, and even that is relative, when you have become from human divine. And because the monad that you are is essentially boundless, you will continue your evolution, your evolutionary journey, even as a god. So in this life, in this phase of the great pilgrimage, you will continue where you left off. And although we are walking the same pilgrimage, to develop all the faculties, all the aspects that we as humans have latent within us. We all do it in our own way. We are walking our own inner path corresponding to our svabhava. And at each stage of that endless journey, we have a specific task. We have given ourselves a specific task, which is the result of past lives. It is the task we are engaged in, but haven't finished yet. This is our unique task. That is our duty, our dharma, that we have to fulfill. And with that, we support and underpin human society. There is a very interesting statement in the Bhagavad Gita. It says, it's better to perform your own duty, albeit imperfectly, than to perform the duty of another perfectly. It's better to perish in the performance of one's own duty, for the duty of the other is full of danger. And the word duty is the English translation of dharma. If you perform the duty or the dharma of another perfectly, it means that the lesson that such a duty entails are no longer for you, because otherwise you wouldn't fulfill it perfectly. Moreover, you deprive the other person of the opportunity to learn his lesson because you are talking over his task. Imagine a teacher doing a student's homework. He probably won't have any mistakes, but the student has been deprived of an opportunity for growth. So you have to carry out your own dharma, your own duty, your own task. And don't you think this is something oppressive, something isolated? Because if you really want to be a pillar of the community, and remember dharma, dri, to support, if you really want to be a pillar of the community, then your first duty, your first task is a very universal one. It is the duty that you find in all religions, like in Christianity. Love your neighbor as yourself. And that self which you love is not a lower self, but the higher self. It is the source from which you have flowed, the monad. To love that source is the same as loving your fellow beings, or even better, loving all that lives. Or, as one of the masters of wisdom and compassion puts it, it's all about loving humanity as a whole, regardless nationality, regardless family ties, regardless any personal connection whatsoever. It's about the whole. That's the first task, the dharma of everyone. And you shape that in the circumstances you have created yourself, aimed at the people you deal with. It is important to realize this. You may think that your unique task in life is a special mission, as if you have a secret message for humanity, as if you have to save humanity like some kind of secret agent, or do something very special in life, which others couldn't do. But we don't see it like that. According to us, your dharma, your task in life is always an unselfish task. It's the task in which you don't want any reward for yourself, nor gratitude or anything like that. A task that may go unnoticed by many others. Nevertheless, with this unselfish attitude, always keeping the interest of the whole in mind, you are supporting society. That's your unique contribution to the whole. So you will have to discover what you can do for humanity, for your fellow men, without judging them, without criticizing them, to live to benefit mankind, as Helena Blavatsky puts it. It's the same idea. Your task is to help others. Use your talents not for your own perceived interest, but to be of benefit to society, to the society in which you live. And everyone has talent. Everyone has something to give. Sometimes we need a right person who can help us to find our task. Such a person can point out the direction we can follow. Note, you give the direction, the other person must come to a decision on their own. Catherine Tingley, the leader and teacher of the Theosophical Society in the early 20th century, in her great wisdom and knowledge of mankind and in her love for fellow men, could point her students in what their task in life might be. At the time of the Raja Yoga school in Point Loma, she pointed many to their specific task in life. For example, she encourages the small, sickly boy called Plummer in his mathematical research. He later became someone whose mathematical insights helped explain theosophy in a very engaging way. Still, many people love his books. She pointing the young woman Elsie, who worked for her, in the direction of Gottfried de Perrucker. She became his secretary, who wrote down his lectures and answers to questions in shorthand. So the Perrucker's books came about in part because of her. She helped many a young boy, many a young girl to get over a certain obstacle. For instance, a shy little boy was told just before a stage performance that he had to play the lead because someone else was sick. He had no time to get nervous. An example of another type. A woman came to live in Point Loma with her husband and family. Point Loma was a commune where the famous Raja Yoga school was founded. And this woman was a little bit lost. She was no teacher and she didn't quite know what to do, what her job was. Until Catherine Tingley asked her if she would like to help in the kitchen for a couple of days to prepare meals for the students and teachers of the school. Well, she became the leading figure of the kitchen. And I can assure you, this was not a small task with the hundreds of hungry mouths of the children of the school. Now, there are not many people that have as much wisdom and compassion as Catherine Tingley, but no doubt, with the help of others, and especially by thinking for yourself, you are able to take your place in human society and make your contribution to the whole. What exactly your task is actually not even that important. If the gods, or the Buddhas, or the masters, and every individual human being, from king to servant, from president to cleaner, lives according to his dharma, we will have an ideal society where everyone is equal and where everyone can grow in wisdom and consciousness. You may be asking yourself, how can I know that I am indeed on the right path? That I'm doing my task, my duty well? Well, I think there are a number of things by which you can measure if you are fulfilling your dharma well. First is, in a letter from one of the masters of wisdom and compassion, he wrote that the only reward for work well done is more work. So my point is that you should not think that your task has an end. Like, done is done. I've done my job. I can go and rest. Sleep and death are to rest. And as you live your dharma more seriously, even those rest periods will become less and less important to you. So, if you bring with the talents that you have, the chores that come your way in life to a good end, you are ready for a new job. And the new job that comes your way will be a little bit more important and a little bit harder to perform, because you're going to have to use the qualities that you have developed by fulfilling the work that you completed. You need those acquired talents for this grander task. In other words, precisely by performing your unique task in life, you develop more and greater abilities, which in turn you can use for a next, a more universal task. And that is the second signal that you are performing your dharma well. Your task in life is getting more universal. And by this I mean that your thinking and your actions affect more and more people and intervene more deeply in the enduring, in the reincarnating part of them. And in doing so, of course, we are assuming the fact that you are discharging your duty in a super-personal way. Well, the particular talent that you have, you will use for the benefit of an ever-increasing group of people, and you touch that larger group of people into the deeper, the more spiritual layer of their consciousness. And while your task becomes more universal, you yourself become more and more universal as well. So suppose you were born with, let's say, a mathematical talent, and in your life you use it, you lose that talent for the benefit of your fellow human being, and you support society with it. But along the way, you also develop other talents, like pedagogical qualities, for example, so that you can teach others what you already know. In fact, this should also be a natural process in our society. The people who are a little bit older and therefore physically can no longer do the things that young people can do, become the tutors and teachers of young people. And this is taking place already, for instance, in music, when older violinists give master classes to young talents. But why should a carpenter or a plumber or a road worker of a certain age still have to perform physical labor? Surely he would be better off training young people. He himself will undoubtedly learn a lot from this, but the young person will benefit as well. In short, as you grow older, your unique task in life doesn't have to end. On the contrary, your dharma can become bigger, more universal, more and more encompassing, and that applies not only to the profession you are in, but in all your dealings with family, with the club, the neighborhood, with all kinds of people. So don't think that your job is one time or is finite. No, as you grow in consciousness, your unique task in the world also grows. We wish that this thought were also involved in the discussion of the issue of the so-called completed life. People who believe that their life has ended, that it is of no use anymore. Life is never completed, because as long as you are alive, you can do something for others, if only you can teach them to be patient and to be compassionate in life. So, whether you are young or old, listen carefully to your own heart. Realize the connections between all life and act as you know you should act. I cannot promise you that you won't encounter difficulties, but I do promise that you can overcome them, and that feelings of depression and loneliness will no longer torment you, because the greatest happiness is knowing that you are helping to shape the universal brotherhood, which is a fact in nature. So we have again our 3 minutes break, and then I will try to answer your questions. So see you in 3 minutes. Okay. A question is...
Yeah, we have 2 questions.
2 questions.
Yeah. The first one just came in by mail, and so I'll read it out. Your tasks change, I have discovered. In the young years, when you are not quite yourself yet, you can be an activist who wants to change the world, busy on the outside. With growing insight, you may start to work more on the spiritual background of life and be less ostentatiously active, but certainly not less active. Is this true for more people?
It is true for me. I can tell you the same story. Yeah, well, if you are growing in consciousness and in wisdom, for sure your task in life also changes. Maybe your task doesn't change, but the performance of your task change. But when you're active as a young person, I think you do it because you want to make a better world. And if you grow in wisdom, then you may come to the conclusion that there is a better way or another way to change the world. So the idealism didn't change, but the performance of how you achieve your goal may change. But of course, yes, your task can change as well. Your task may change as well, because if you are living in a certain, let's say, in a certain city, in a certain neighborhood, then your first task is to cooperate, to cope with the people who live nearby you, in your school or your work, whatever. And if you change house and you go to another city or to another country, and then you're in other circumstances, and then you have to do other things. So, what I try to make clear is that your task is not something very specific. You have to be a carpenter, or I have to be a teacher, or an engineer, or a doctor. No, your task is to bring yourself in the community where you are part of, and who creator, who universal, the community, the creator, your task is, your dharma is. And of course, it's good that it changed, because if it didn't change, it would have meant that you, as a as a person, didn't change. And we change, we grow, we become wiser. So our task, our dharma, will change with us, because in a way, we are our dharma. And in Buddhism, sometimes a dharma is a substitute for a living being. A dharma is a living being. So if the living being change, the dharma, the duty, the task also change.
Thanks. And then the last question. The title of this lecture was Discover Your Unique Task in Life. But it also sounds a bit serious, because it's my own unique task, and how can I find it? And it might even overwhelm me. So can I still enjoy life by searching for my task?
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, I was thinking about when you asked that question. There are some people who become member of the Theosophical Society with the idea that they want to give lectures, or they want to write articles for our magazine Lucifer, or they want to give courses, specific idea. And in most of the cases, if you come to the Theosophical Society, it won't be successful. But there are also members who become member of the Theosophical Society with the idea, well, whatever I need to do, I do. Yeah, do you want me to make posters? I do it. Do you want me to clean the house? I do it. And that is the unique task. Because, if you are super personal instead of personal, it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter. And if you are super personal, you are not, you're always satisfied by doing the things you do, because you know you are contributing to the whole. But if you have a personal mentality, yeah, you live in your personality, then you want a specific task. You want to do this, and this I don't like, so I want to do this. This is better, this is... This. No! If you are really super personal, the task, your unique task, is being yourself. Being yourself, asserting yourself in the community. That is your unique task. You are not a carpenter, not a doctor. No, unique task is being yourself in the community of which you are a part. And if you realize that, then it doesn't matter at all what you do, because you sustaining dharma, dri, to support, you sustain the society, you sustain humanity. And that's the thing you have to realize. So be super personal, be above the personality, and act according to your super personality, and then you have find your unique task in the world, in life.
Thank you, Barend. Those were the questions.
Okay. Well, next week we are going to talk about this in our study, and you can, if you didn't do it, you can go to our website and inscribe you in I don't know where, but if you find in our website where you have to give your name and your email, and then we will send you some articles, little articles you can read, some readings, and next week we are going to talk about it. So I hope to see you all next week in our Zoom session, and in 2 weeks we start with care from the perspective of reincarnation and karma, the 5th of December. And we end this talk, this lecture, with the Gayatri of the Rig Veda, and it speaks about the golden sun, and the golden sun is the most divine part of your being. It's something within you, not something without you, but it is Atman, it is the divine core, it is the monad, give it a name you like, but it is something within you, that's important. O thou, golden sun of most excellent splendor, illumine our hearts and fill our minds so that we, recognizing our oneness with the divinity, which is the heart of the universe, may see the pathway before our feet and tread it to those distant goals of perfection, stimulated by thine own radiant light.